Alexa, stop. Good afternoon, folks. I'm gathering here with another video, and I think a topic that's really important topic to bring some information about, and it has to do with an addiction, with alcoholism, and how to get the kind of help a person might be benefit from that. So we're going to be talking about the AA movement, and I have with me today as my guest Ray, who has been a member of AA now for how many years, Ray?
Oh, 44
44 years. So Ray, I'm going to ask you to begin by introducing yourself to the people who will be tuning in on this.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. My name is Ray. And it's amazing, I was reflecting there when you asked me about this. I was thinking, go back, those months ahead of leading up to 1974. I look back now that I'm in the program a number of years, and I think those days leading up in 1974, I was restless, irritable, and discontent. I didn't know what was really wrong with me, and I was working in the same parish that you, Father Leo, were the pastor, and I was the assistant there as an assistant priest. And little did I realize I was a sick person, and I didn't realize it. And you spotted, I knew I had a problem with it because I don't know exactly what you did see, but yet at some point in December, I think it was, you confronted me, and I was glad you did. Would I go to a treatment center? And it was in January of 1975 that you took me to a treatment center for clergymen of all denominations. And so it was there that I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. I knew nothing about it, Alcoholics Anonymous, before. I had on one-on-one counseling every week with an alcoholic counselor. I also had a one-on-one counseling from a clinical psychologist, and so it was. We would go to meetings within the house, but also we were taken out by a vehicle to a meeting outside the building, to going to AA meetings. The meetings we went to outside of the building were speaker meetings, and here again, I didn't know anything about the AA program whatsoever, but it was that's where I was the beginning. I was there in this center for 2.5 months till I returned back to Peterborough, back to the parish I was in at the time, and I started going to meetings locally. And the first meeting I was at was a step discussion meeting, and I was given a person's name before I left the center I was at, and this gentleman eventually became my sponsor. That's something you suggest that a person coming into the program do obtain themselves a person that they can talk to, that they feel at ease, that has knowledgeable about the AA program. And so it was, that was my beginning. And here again, it was, I went with great apprehension because I got there, as I said, back here in Peterborough, I was the only clergyman going to AA meetings at that time. And I thought to myself, oh, what were they thinking? If they find out that I'm a clergyman, people would think that I should know better. But it was amazing. I was accepted just who I was. You're another alcoholic? Fine, welcome. That's all. Nobody asked me what kind of work I did. And that was a great relief. But I didn't know anything about that at all. That, in other words, is saying, they will accept and glad and welcome anybody of whatever walk of life they're in, male, female. If you have a problem, you want to do something about it, you're welcome. And that was, once I found that out, I was accepted just to who I was, and that was it. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that I was a pastor at the time, and I think that's where our friendship came in, because you had been with a couple other pastors, and they just ignored the situation, as I understand it. But I looked upon you as a good friend, and I said, he's too good a friend to lose to alcohol. And that was my motivation, Ray, because we were friends, and I thought that, what do friends do? And you accepted it so readily. Now, as far as going to the treatment center, like, you come there with a lot of unknowing. You really don't know what's it all about. And had you already decided when you got there that you were going to quit drinking, or did that have to come sometime during the process?
I went there. I didn't think I had a drinking problem. I thought it was the kind of work I was in. I think maybe I should change my direction, quit being a priest and go into some work whatsoever. And so it was, I didn't know what was ahead of me, what to expect there.
Yeah. But as you said, you didn't know you had a problem. Yeah. And yet, somehow you went to the treatment center. So there must be at some level you knew there's a problem here.
After I was there about a month or so thereabouts, within that month, going to meetings and hearing what was being said, I thought, hey, Ray, you better take a look at yourself. Look at what's been going on in your life. And, once I was able to stop and reflect a little bit, I thought, hey, Ray, you do have a problem. That is, you'd want to live that way, because of the feelings I had within that. It was not very pleasant feelings I had within myself, but I wanted to change.
Yeah, I wanted to change. And I guess the treatment center gave you the opportunity to express those pent-up feelings that you've been carrying?
That was important, but I was afraid to talk to anyone about it. But it was there that I could see, the people could read me like a book, and I didn't realize it because of their experience, and they were nobody condemning you, nobody criticizing you, they accepting you. You have a problem, and then little by little they would talk about themselves, and then it made it easier for me to start talking to them about myself. It's when they started relating, the alcoholic counselor and others at meetings would be talking about their own sickness and their own disease, that they were. Made it easier for me to start speaking about my own myself. Then that was very helpful.
When did you cross the line, or how did you cross the line where you could say the words, "I'm an alcoholic"?
It was in that period of time that I came to realize, Ray, you have a problem, and I was able to not only admit it, but accept it. And there's quite a difference between admitting it as one thing, but accepting it is quite another. And is once I accepted it, that that you have a problem, then I was open to receive the help that the program, 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous could give me.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ray, one of the things that I think that's unique to the AA program is it's a tremendous resource, just not only coming to see yourself as you are, as an alcoholic, but there's a resource there, and I guess the higher power, the spirituality. I wonder if you could speak to that, because I get a sense that what makes the AA so powerful in the lives of people is the spirituality side of it.
Yes, the spirituality comes in very, very much in the second step of Alcoholics Anonymous. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. That's step 2. It is, and it is a very, very simple very, very simple but powerful statement that you are seeking some power outside of yourself, and my personal experience with others, some over the years, some have difficulty with that, but yet when they see it is when they want to receive some help outside of themselves, then they are more open, and I was too. But of course, again, with the religion I was brought up in, I was able to accept that very easily, accepting that a power greater than myself, and whom I also choose to call God, which comes up in step 3.
Yeah. But it must be difficult, though, for people who don't have a belief in God to able to take ownership of that second step.
For many, it is if someone has no religion background whatsoever. From my personal experience over the years, many have difficulty with that. But so many connecting the power greater than himself, they connect it with religion, and my realization, so many do not want to connect to religion and church, etc. And that isn't the case in AA. We're not asking anybody to any denomination or anything like that. It's just accepting a power greater than themselves, whom that's all that step 2 is saying. Then we come to step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. Mm-hmm. That's important words, as we understand Him. Mm-hmm. And so for a person that has difficulty with that, they can accept it, that power greater than themselves, that some choose to accept God. Some call it as good orderly direction, GOD. Mm-hmm. And they're able to come to that. The people that have no religion background, those statements are many times I've seen in my experience, they're able to come to accept that and know that they're able to see there's a power greater than themselves is going to help me.
Yeah. So I get a sense when you talk about spirituality, you're not trying to put bums in the pews.
That's right.
It's something different, spirituality, that inner resource to make this possible, eh? And mm-hmm. and I like the idea of saying surrendering, mm-hmm. Because until we surrender, the ego is going to run our life.
Yeah, yes, and I think it's number one is recognizing I have a problem, and of course we're not bad people, we're sick people wanting to get better.
Yeah,
I want to get better. I want to feel better. About myself, I want to feel better in many ways, and so as when they come to accept a power greater than himself that will assist me, myself, yes, I had my religion that I always did have, but yet at the same time, I also see in many cases my religion speaks a lot of theory that appeals to the head. The doctrine appeals to the head. I feel myself, the spirituality of AA is spiritual. It appeals to the heart.
The heart,
and
yeah.
And there is a difference.
Big difference.
And so that's what I find for myself. The spirituality I find in the AA program enriches the faith I choose to practice, mm-hmm. But basically, I know day to day I have a simple spirituality that I call upon every day to, because I start my day off to recognizing and accepting the fact that I cannot safely take one drink safely today, safely.
Right.
And I turn to God of my understanding to help me to recognize and accept that I cannot safely take a drink. I ask for that help every day.
Yeah. But I get a sense you said that you've been in the AA program for what, some 40 years?
44 years.
44. But I get a sense it's still ongoing. It's still ongoing, that you can't abandon it without harming yourself.
That's right. My years of experience have seen that. Some come for a little while and leave, and I know myself. I cannot take my sobriety for granted for one day.
Oh yeah.
There's an old gentleman who was 50-some years sober, and he would say to me one day, "Ray, I'm only an arm's length away from my next drink."
Yeah.
And a very wise man, and I feel I cannot take my sobriety for granted for one day. I need I need the fellowship and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous because I'm looking for quality of my sobriety. Years of sobriety are fine, but I need quality, and our program tells me I only have a daily reprieve contingent on my spiritual condition.
Yeah. Ray, I've often wondered, I've had men and women say to me, and because there was stress in the marriage, my partner, my spouse, they drive me to drink. And so, like, what do you say to a man or a woman who says about their partner that they're the one who are driving them to drink?
Mm-hmm. You know, Leo, I was very fortunate. I was given a name when I came back from the treatment center, who was Charlie. He was my first sponsor. And I would go to visit their home or my early sobriety, and I'd be, upset about some particular thing. His good wife was sitting in company at the same time, a very, very beautiful lady. She was very active in Al-Anon.
Oh, yes.
And she would say, I would go there, say, complaining about something, and Audrey would interject, "Well, Ray, really, how important is it?" And, I came to see that there was another program called Al-Anon, and I have great respect and love for the Al-Anon program that is there to help there's a program to help the non-alcoholic.
Yeah. But there's still something about that line, he or she drives me to drink. Like, I have a little problem with that. Do they actually drive them to drink, or do they use that as an excuse for drinking?
I think anything we want to drink, we'll use any excuse.
Any
excuse. I didn't need one anyway. And it is, maybe in many cases I was somewhat like a closet drinker. They speak of that in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. But it is, that's only an excuse.
Excuse, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're wanting a drink, you'll have anything as an excuse.
And, yeah, an excuse, because I have a faint suspicion the spouse didn't pour the beer down their throats. Ray, today now, supposing a family member is, drinking far too much, it's interfering in his or her life, interfering in the life of the family. Like, have you any suggestions of what a family or a friend can do when they see somebody that's heading down the road to disaster?
If they see a family member or someone with a problem, it would be number one, if they know somebody that would be in the AA program, maybe contact them, as one example. If they do not know, they look in the telephone book, and you'll see under Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a place where they're able to call. And we're very fortunate here in Peterborough. We have what is called on Cameron Street, the intergroup office. And anyone can phone the intergroup office. The telephone number is 705-745-6111. And there's always somebody on duty there from around 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, and to answer the phone. So, and then there's also the telephone answering service that would cut in. But it is there's that we're very fortunate in Peterborough to have a place like Intergroup.
Mm-hmm. Is there any use in sort of a family forcing a member, or friends forcing a member to go to AA? I can see a family saying, we got to do something. It's putting stress on the family. This is going to get worse. And the person says, well, no, I don't really have a problem, although it's obvious he or she does. Like, is there any use kind of persuading or challenging or forcing a person to go to AA?
I would think it would be very difficult to say you must go to AA. I think the alcoholic gets their,
Get their back up.
back up and say, nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Yeah, right.
I think the person who has the problem, if they're hurting inside, I guess maybe the only way I could see, do you want to live that way?
Yeah.
Do you want to change?
But you would advocate an intervention of some kind. You wouldn't just say to a family, well, it's hopeless.
There is a way out.
Uh-huh.
And the beauty is, if you have the person could even not having a problem, if they were able to have contacted the intergroup office and talk to somebody, well, how do I talk to this person?
Oh, yeah.
If they might that way get help themselves to how they can talk to the person that has the problem.
Yeah. Because I think where this interview began, you didn't get your back up when I suggested going to for help, eh? You didn't get your back, but I can see where some people would get their back up, become defensive, and say, oh, "Don't tell me what I have to do."
There is that, and unfortunately, there are cases where that is the case. They don't go and as the alcohol, we speak of it in the program. Alcohol is the great remover. Removes the person from themselves, removes them from their family, removes them from society. And, well, alcohol can kill.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. A relation of mine, I've seen them. I was called to their place, and there on the floor, they were gasping for, and really, they eventually died.
Yeah.
Right there in front of me.
Yeah. Ray, I'd like to move on in the time we've got left here. Peterborough now, the city. What does the city have to offer for people who decide, yes, I need help? They're probably not ready yet to say I'm an alcoholic, but they know darn well, if they move past denial, that is causing a real problem in their life. What does Peterborough have to offer people who say, I need help? Where do I go? What have I got?
We're very fortunate here in Peterborough to have meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous every day. As a matter of fact, there's meetings more than once a day in Peterborough itself, in the city. We're very, very blessed in that fact. The many years ago, for example, there was a Wednesday afternoon meeting started up in order to accommodate people who are on night shift.
Oh, yeah.
And they could attend a 1 o'clock meeting in the afternoon, would be over from 1 to 2 o'clock. Usually the meetings are about 1 hour, that's it. And then they're able to be off to work. But now, today, in Peterborough, we have many meetings. Every day there's an afternoon meeting, and every night there's a meeting someplace in Peterborough.
So if a person really wants help, it's there.
There
Just
is.
walk in the door.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And again, a person, not for sure, I say suggest phone the intergroup office during the hours that there was somebody in the office.
And they can find out where and when
That's right.
every meeting is, eh? And the other thing you haven't mentioned yet, or though you did in passing, is the notion of a sponsor. Can you tell me a little bit more about the role of the sponsor?
A sponsor is a person who has been in the AA program for a few years, that they have gone through the 12 steps themselves. And my early sobriety, I was told, it is not advisable until a person has about close to 5 years of sobriety. They've been through the program themselves, and to be a sponsor. Now, you can, maybe some are sponsors before 5 years, but that was what I was told when I first came into the program. And a sponsor is a person not only has gone through the steps themselves, but also that are active in the program, that they're out at meetings, that they belong to a group. And that's belonging to a group. That means I'm a member of that group, registered member of that particular group, and then they are active in their group by taking part in their meeting, of running the meeting, and other positions that comes up in the groups with the group.
Yeah. You know, Ray, as you look back today, and then look at today, what's your thoughts about being an alcoholic? How has that been a blessing in your life? Now, there's a weird question.
Leo, again, Alcoholics Anonymous enriches my life. The simple spirituality enriches the life as a clergyman I choose to be, and religion I choose to practice. But the friendship I have gained over the years of people that I sponsor, a few people myself today, and there's really a good, we have a good feeling with, we call it a family. We're concerned about one another.
Yeah.
When someone goes back out drinking, we feel bad that the person, but we, again, the best thing, if I cannot reach them in person, certainly I can place them over in God's care. Step 3, make a decision, turn our will and our lives over to His care, placing people over in God's care. You
must have found a rich ministry. I mean, it must have taken quite a U-turn for you once you said, I'm practicing alcoholic or sobriety, and how you've got involved in the lives of so many people who were either struggling with drink or were into Alcoholic Anonymous. You must have found a whole new ministry that because you were, what is it you said, walking the walk and talking the talk, that there was a credibility thing for you when you ministered to people.
Yes, that is, to me, it's opened up another ministry to me, But the beautiful is, so I benefit from it. You know, if I can be of help to another, I'm thankful to God for that. I thank God for that. But yeah, my life was enriched by trying to help another person. You know, and it is, and any credit that is done. There was another gentleman that had great gratitude, and I would say to him, I would thank him. He said, "You know, Ray, don't thank me. Just thank God. I just happen to be God's instrument."
Yeah, right. Which is what we should all remember, you know. And but you must have found, though, in this ministry, a lot of satisfaction to see people get their life back in order again.
It's a real joy, you know, seeing people come into the program, and you go back and remember yourself how you felt, and the person really, they're struggling. I want to change, because once you see them, it just enriches, you know, and my appreciation for the AA program, that how it can change. But a person has to want to change.
Want to change, yeah.
And of course, in most cases, like myself, I was hurting, and I was very fortunate to have some good people that took me by the hand and say, "Hey, Ray, there's another way to live."
Another way. I like the way you put it. Another way to live, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So it's another path, eh? And it must be very painful, because you really have to get honest with yourself.
Oh, yes.
That must be the big part. No more pretense.
Yes, indeed, yes. Our program, the Big Book, tells us that if you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're willing to take certain steps.
Yeah.
And then what are they? Well, accepting to go to meetings where we find another way to live.
Another way to live, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good note to end on, Ray. I really thank you for coming on and sharing those insights with me and with us. And again, I've learned a lot more. And over the years, I've learned a lot about the AA movement from you and others. And I've always been a strong supporter of the AA movement, always have been. And the Al-Anon, which again you talked about. And so, again, your encouragement to people, especially people who are realizing that they have a problem, or families where a member has a problem, that there's room for an intervention, and the help is here. Many AA meetings, and they're here, and as Ray has pointed out, in around 45 years of being in the AA movement, he in turn has got his life back, and a beautiful life, a beautiful ministry, and I'm so thankful that you were willing to share that today, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.